Hello again. Welcome to MTG Studios. I'm Maria. This quarter in my high school classroom, we've been learning a lot about African art. And today we're going to learn about Kente cloth from Ghana. Legend has it that back in the 16th century, two brothers went out hunting one day from the village of Bonri. They came across a spider weaving a web, and they were fascinated by the intricate patterns that this spider was weaving. So when they returned to their village, they used black and white raffia to weave some interesting patterns. And when they completed their weaving, they took it to the Ashanti king, who marveled at the beautiful patterns. And originally it was meant only for royalty, but now we find Kente cloth everywhere and everyone is able to wear it. In our classroom lesson, we're not going to weave on a loom. We're going to weave with paper. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be weaving with paper and then adding some designs with markers and black Sharpies. So if you're ready, I'm ready, because it's time for art. As with all of our projects, we're first going to review our supply list, our directions, and the rubric in Google Classrooms. And the first thing we always have to do is plan and sketch. You will be creating a paper weaving in the style of woven Kente cloth. The colors and symbols you select must combine to tell a story or make a statement. We're going to research the symbolism and the meanings behind the colors and the patterns woven by clicking this link. And again, I will include that link in the description below. So in my research, I've selected these 4 colors and these 4 symbols to include in my pattern. And in my sketchbook, I've outlined just loosely what I want my pattern to be and what size strips I'm going to be weaving with and all of the information, so that I have a concrete plan on how I'm going to get started, what my finished weaving will hopefully look like, and what meanings and symbolism will be behind my weaving. After your sketch has been approved, you'll get the 12 by 18 black construction paper, and holding it in landscape, fold it in half like this. And then you can use either a white pencil or a regular pencil. White will show up better on the black paper, but you can still see with the regular pencil. For the video, I'm going to use the white colored pencil. And first I'm going to place my ruler along the top edge, about a ½ inch down from the edge. And I'm going to make my marks. Now I can make them at a ½ inch or at a 1 inch. In my example that I first made, I made them ½ inch. But for simplicity's sake and for the video, I'm going to make them 1 inch. So I'm just making a little mark with my white pencil. Now I'm going to slide my ruler down and place it on the edge of the fold. And again, I'm going to mark 1 inch. And again, if you decide to create a more intricate pattern, I recommend the ½ inch. You have a lot more fun with it that way. And now I'm going to connect my marks that I've made, and I'm going to draw a line from where I made the mark along the cut edge all the way to the edge of the fold. And the reason I'm doing that is because when I go to cut this, I do not want to cut all the way off, otherwise I will have a pile of paper scraps. The idea is to cut from the fold to just before the edge over here, so that you have what's called a loom. And we're going to be weaving our strips of colored paper onto this loom. And what we're creating here is technically called the warp threads. The warp threads are what weavers weave the weft threads onto, and the weft threads are what we generally see. But for this project, we'll see both the warp and the weft, because that's what we see in Kente cloth. We see a nice pattern created with both the warp threads and the weft threads. Now that I've finished making my marks, I'm going to start at the fold and cut along those lines, holding my paper together as best as possible. The two layers do tend to shift a little bit, and I'm going to stop just about a ½ inch away from my open end. Your paper should look like this, all in one piece, just cut throughout the middle. Now that my weft strips are all cut, I want to make sure that any pencil marks that are showing on the ones that I marked are face down. And that goes especially for my loom. I want to work on this side so that none of the pencil shows. And now I can start weaving. The most basic way to weave is over, under, like this. It's a simple, what we call tabby weave. And the weft yarns would go over, under, all the way through. And now the next row would be opposite of the first row that you did. So the next row, instead of starting over, you would start under, over, under, over, so that the pattern holds its shape and we don't have warp threads just hanging out. And then every time you want to slide those weft strips down close to the edge so that there's not so much of a gap there. It's not perfect, we're working with paper, but we want to get that checkerboard feel. Here I'm going to show you a different pattern of weaving, and this will create a kind of twill where you go over 2 and under 1 every other row, so that we get the black squares kind of going on a diagonal. This works really well with the ½ inch paper, but I'm going to try and show it to you here. So we're going to go over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1. And then the next strip woven then would go in an opposite way. And you would go, I want to start under here, go over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, and end with over 2. Now the next strip that I weave, I'm going to be going over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under. And see how this starts to create this pattern where we're going to have that black warp strip showing as a square going in a diagonal. As you can see, I didn't quite have room enough for another weft strip. So I just pushed all of my strips together to one side, and I'm going to leave that just as is, and that's fine. But to make this stay, we need to take our glue and put just a dot of glue underneath the ends. We want to do this on the front and on the back. For my first design, this is what I have in my sketchbook for the plan for that. And for this pattern that I've created here, I've done some more planning in my sketchbook and practicing with some of these symbols that I'm going to recreate on my weaving. Once I've worked out some of my ideas in my sketchbook, I can then use the back of my weaving to test the different colors of markers that I have and how they're going to look on the colored construction paper before I actually begin on the other side, on my good side. So once I'm done practicing, I'm ready to get started.